I am Susan Ranieri. I am the technical lead for Owens Corning commercial insulation for the Northeast. I'm happy to be here. Owens Corning stands pretty high on the sustainability level. And I'm very happy just to kind of show you what we've been up to for many, many years. I'm going to go through this. And if you have questions, put them in the chat, and feel free also to raise your hand during the presentation. That's fine. And I'm going to go at this now. Okay, great. We're 20,000 people in 33 countries, which is kind of big. We are $8.5 billion in sales, on target for 10 million. We serve the residential. We do residential products as well, but I'm focused in commercial. We do we have three core businesses. It's insulation, roofing, and composites. Composites, it's interesting because we make products for other companies that they use in their products. So in other words, we will produce, say, glass fiber in composite materials used in everything from automobiles, bridges, to wind energy, and like personal electronics. So it's kind of interesting. And when we say wind energy, that fiberglass is actually used in wind turbine blades, which is kind of neat. So there's a lot of good that we do in our company with respect to handprint. We have four types of insulation. We have fiberglass, foamular, which is extruded polystyrene, foam glass, and which is cellular glass, and thermofiber mineral wool. And so this is where we work in the areas of the building. We actually consider the future in everything we do, which is kind of cool. In terms of sustainability, we have four pillars that are our comprehensive goals. Basically, they guide the way we drive execution to attain our goals. But these four pillars are right here. The first one being safety, health, community. Injuries were reduced by about 90% in our company since their baseline year of 2002. Operations, Owens Corning, this is interesting to note, but was among the first companies to set holistic footprint reduction goals. The third pillar is our product and supply chain. Our sustainable product strategy includes being, leaders in transparency. And then lastly, innovation and collaboration. We work with customers, to improve energy efficiency and durability of their products. Net positive aspiration is huge at Owens Corning. Our mission is to build a sustainable future through material innovation. This is consistent with our company purpose. Our people and products make the world a better place, basically. We define sustainability as meeting the needs of present while leaving the world a better place in the future. So we think about now, but we think about the future. We assess our progress through the math of our aspiration to be a net positive company. So that is, we're a company where our positive impact, or our handprint, is greater than our negative impact, which is our footprint. And we have several aspirations here listed on the slide. We're obviously trying to double the positive impacts of our products, eliminate the injuries, as we spoke about before, have a positive impact on our communities, have the negative impact of our operations, and also advance our inclusion and diversity. From a closer detailed view, I encourage you to look at our sustainability report that we came out with earlier in the spring for last year. And our 2030 goals is basically, we want to cut the negative impact of our operations in half. So reduce greenhouse gas emissions, cut the amount of water we use, switch to 100% renewable electricity, cut our emissions, send zero waste to landfill, develop biodiversity goals. So we have specific goals here to reduce our product footprint. And this is something that we're very, very serious about. As a global manufacturer, we know that the way we conduct our operations makes a difference. To be a net positive company, our handprint must be larger than our footprint. And we're proud of our progress in many of these areas. Circular economy aspiration. There's a few things I want to just talk about here. We do invest in this to improve our products' environmental benefits. And then we also have a whole team whose job is to enable this aspiration. Our 2030 goals go beyond the sustainable applications of our products, just only products, but we use recycled and renewable materials. We work to reduce the environmental impact of our supply chain, and creating products and processes that help establish a circular economy are all ways that our handprint can grow. Okay. Our next slide talks about our LCAs, our total life cycle assessment. So we also have a team that is focused on product sustainability and transparency, and that we have capabilities to form LCAs and publish EPDs in-house. Lower embodied carbon by looking at every part of the product's life cycle. We have an EPD for every one of these. We'll talk about that in a second. And all of the products that we currently have EPDs, which is a look at the entire product, its manufacturing process, what goes into it, and the numbers that are related to in not only just embodied carbon, but many other scientific traces. Optimization summaries are very helpful. These are additional lead option credits that have come about in the last few years. And we have optimization summaries in our EcoTouch unfaced insulation. And then that's transitioning to our pink next gen, our Foamular NGX, thermofiber mineral wool, and then our thermofiber formaldehyde free as well. What's interesting is we make our core products with 100% renewable energy. And this is actually certified by SCS Global Services. So those core products for commercial would be thermofiber mineral wool, the pink fiberglass, and our extruded polystyrene. So that's kind of a nice thing that we like to talk about and kind of, just mention. We have EPDs, obviously, I said, for every product. This is just a part of a chart which is available that shows where we hit on the certifications, which is kind of helpful when you start to look at your projects and try to decide which certifications are more important than others. In terms of product innovations, this was huge. I've just mentioned the transition from EcoTouch to pink fiberglass. This particular product, we actually looked at redoing the fiberization. So a lot of people don't think about fibers in insulation, but you can actually retool them and make them better. And people say, well, how do you make it better? It looks pretty like the same thing that you've done before, but basically it makes it so you could cut cleanly, you can generate less dust, you can achieve better recovery. Recovery here is referred to basically the bats coming out of the bag. They can be creased, but in this case, we've engineered the technology of the fiber not to be creased. So it actually kind of just pops out. So it's kind of interesting. It's extremely soft. I think this picture does show that. It's like cotton candy, but you can't eat it. It has always been formaldehyde free in the last 10 years. So that's something we carried through on this product line as well. We have formaldehyde free also in mineral wool. This is our bat insulation. So that would be another choice to use. We also have it in our curtain wall assemblies for insulation. So we have the fire span and safing as well as formaldehyde free. And then recently we came out with Foamular NGX, next generation. This basically is a lower global warming potential. This was actually mandated by state regulation that it would remove HFC 134A, which is a hydrofluorocarbon. That was actually eliminated in certain states, but I think a lot of people are just going this way anyhow in all states. So this product is available in all states. And in this instance, we're showing it below grade and roof as well. It's very popular for that type of application. keeping its thermal capability and, the moisture resistance as well. And then there's a lot of mineral wool continuous insulation options. I try to simplify this, but basically our rain barrier 45 is used as continuous insulation. That's to the right here. That's just a 4.5 pound product, typically used between clip and rail systems or CMU and masonry. We recently came out with a brand new product called Rain Barrier Dark. It simply has a black veil on the outside of it. This actually camouflages the insulation behind open rain screen joints, so you don't see the insulation, although we do recommend doing a mock-up with this material to see if you actually can see it. You may not need to specify that. This may work instead, but we always said to do a mock-up for that. We came out with high compressive mineral wool products because as the construction was lending itself to having cladding attachments outboard of the insulation, that is when you would use such a product. You would need something that has a higher compressive strength. And to boil it down, it's about a 3.3 psi, 5 and 9 for these 3 different products. We actually have a technology called thermocrimp technology, so we're able to do a slightly lower density and a higher compressive strength, which is kind of neat. And people say, they ask me this all the time. They're like, Susan, which insulation goes where? And I mentioned earlier, the Rain Barrier 45 typically goes between cladding attachment systems, or it can be outboard of CMU. But here we can see an example of that. And then we can see the insulation where the cladding attachments are outboard of the insulation. That applies a little bit more pressure. And so we basically kind of do a simple chart here, although, we want to work definitely with the cladding manufacturer to make sure that we're meeting their, their recommendations on their cladding and insulation combinations. But this is a guide on this as well, and it has to do with how much weight the cladding is. RDH, we had permission to use this. RDH has a great guide out. It's a PDF. You could just Google it. But it just kind of shows you all different kinds of attachment systems that you can use. There's many, and it really depends on what your project is all about. If it's wind loading, you'd need to, obviously dress that. So you can't say, one attachment system is better than the other. You have to just analyze holistically what that project is all about. And then you could then figure out what kind of attachment system is needed with regard to the cladding, wind loading, et cetera. This is kind of interesting. And I know we're talking about passive house, and I know what's important is maintaining the effectiveness of the R value or thermal characteristics of the project. RDH did a study on the effectiveness of different cladding support systems here in terms of how well, they kept the thermal value. And it was interesting. It's just kind of, the less hardware would be, the more efficient. But again, this really depends on your wind loading and any other situations that happen with the project. But it was an interesting study on how effective the exterior insulation is. And we know that the thicknesses of insulation are gradually becoming thicker. I mean, I think people want a more efficient building, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would be remiss in not talking about my team. These are our 3 team members. I'm handling the East and Mid-Atlantic area. We have Drew in the Midwest, and we have Sabora in the West Coast. So we are the technical team. We also have a bunch of area sales managers that handle pricing and distribution and contractors. So that's kind of our team. I put in some sustainability links into the chat. They're basically here. But they're just very kind of down and dirty what you need to know about our insulation and sustainability. So take a look at those. And then I just wanted to kind of segue now to some questions if people had them. I just wanted to allow a little air time here on, maybe questions that people may have with regard to our insulation. I'm going to actually put in the links one more time, just so you have these here. And these would be the products that I just discussed in the last 20 minutes. So we do have time. I wanted to make sure we had at least maybe 4 or 5 minutes left for questions. So feel free to send a question through the chat. I'm also going to put my email in the chat. Sometimes people have questions later and they may not have them now. So I'll put my email in here, and that's okay. We also do webinars probably twice a month. So if you're needing credits for AIA credit, we do those also. And you can always just, email me and say, hey, Susan, send me the web link for that. There, that's good. Got that out. One question, does your XPS have the new blowing agent with lower embodied carbon? Yes, we do. It's an HFO blend. If you need more details than that, I can get one of our scientists on that. I tend not to shoot from the hip on science, but it is an HFO blend. But if you need specifics, just let me know on that. That's a great question. Thank you. Do you have, and we typically work a lot with people sending us construction details. So if you have a detail that you're working on, you can always send it to us and we can kind of work through and see what would be the most economical installation to use and technically the correct one to use. Sometimes the more expensive one is not always the best. So just be careful if people try to sell you that. We actually have, that's a very good question. The question was, do we have a resource or information about the attachment of mineral wool CI? We do. It is actually in the chat and I can bring that up here. Let's see, good question. It's actually a guide that we refer to quite often. It basically, I'm just going to bring that up right here. And what that does is kind of gives you the basics. To show you the index here, overview on all of the different systems that you, fasteners and attachment systems that you can use. It also kind of explains a little bit of the history behind this. So if you have architects who are just starting out in the profession and want to know, well, why do they do this? Or, it's all in here. It's also good for advanced reading for people that have been in the industry a long time. It has, basically your ASHRAE requirements, your prescriptive R value, performance methods. It kind of dives into, that gives you the actual density and PSI strengths here, but kind of can declutter, which insulation goes where. It's a similar picture that we showed in the presentation here. And actually, this is the other thing here. I want to be privy to the chat here. Hang on. Okay. Okay, we have a question related to a specific project we were doing in partnership with Build Show. Who's the head of marketing and their contact information? That's Scott. I can get that to you offline, Scott. I'm going to send you, did you get my email? Just Scott Rodman. Okay, we'll get you connected. Okay, great. Yeah, he said that's okay. That's great. Okay, I think we're running out of time. We're 3:25 and I just want to be right on target because they said we can't be late. So I just want to thank you for your time. Definitely contact me anytime you need help. All right, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Passive House. Thank you.